Thomas! It's up for grabs now!
Magic ball from Bergkamp to Patrick Vieira!
Oh, would you believe it? Oh, right, what a way to get it!
Fabulous solo goal by Thierry Henry.
Champions.
Good evening, everybody. Very, very welcome to another great episode of the Arsenal Lounge on the Monday nights. Obviously, Arsenal not making it any easier for us, but yeah, we go again. We've got a couple of announcements to make. The first one is we thought we'd let you know here first, so you heard it from us that Lev has volunteered to be the first person to get these chips that is going to be implanted in your hand, so you can make payments.
Please don't tell me you spent a lot of time with this intro. Don't tell
he's
me
the first person now that is going to get that. So if you got any questions, at Levanja on Twitter, ask him anything. So apart from that, the other one I'm gonna discuss later. But
gag.
Yeah. How are you guys, Mo? How you doing, man?
Yeah, then you ignore me and go straight to Mo, yeah? All right, fine. Go on, carry on.
No, I'm going to come to you last, man.
I'm not too bad. Like, who knows? I just wonder whether when we all go out for our predictions dinner, Lev will be able to just pay via his hand.
Why hand?
That sounds a bit wrong, Mo, but, yeah, hopefully that'll be the aim.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Tom, how you getting on, man?
Yeah, all things considered, mate. I think in these moments you learn to enjoy other things in life, and that's what we've done over the last 2 days since the loss. So there you go. But we're back to it. I'm happy to be here.
Good. And last but not least, my Turkish brother. What's happening, Lev?
How long was you working on that intro?
It just came to my mind, actually.
It's just a slight. Anyway, yeah, I'm good. And for those of you at home, if you want to know as well, you put a plate of chips in front of Shaheen and you'll get a reaction. There you go. I just thought I'd mention that. I don't know why, but there you go.
Right. Let's start with the game. Obviously, one that everybody thought will win. We all predicted a win. Lo and behold, we lost again. And it's not, I don't think it's just a loss, it's the manner of loss. So let's get into it. Where do we start? Lev.
Yeah.
What was your thoughts on the game?
Just extreme disappointment for a start. We knew we had a manager that was learning on the job, but that weekend that just gone says to me that a better manager would not have done what he did. So, I mean, I don't know if you want to go into it all, but he made some shocking decisions with the lineup, in my opinion, which went a long way to the result at the end. But, I mean, that's not making any excuse. The team didn't turn up. But I think we're ruining the lack of strength in depth, and we could touch on that later. But the January window is coming back to haunt us, and we all predicted that a few months back. So, there you go.
All right. Mo? You're on mute.
Yeah, I didn't realise that. So, I feel like the nervousness started before the game when we saw the selection. It was one of those ones where Palace was awful. And in the few days after the Palace game, we realised that it was even worse than we thought with the injuries that came out of it. And the conversation had already started about how you deal with that, who you play left back, and all the other things. And I felt like Arteta got that completely wrong. This isn't a case of loads of people talking in hindsight. Actually, I think on this occasion, loads and loads of fans, the majority of fans, were talking in foresight, because we all kind of said, oh, look, if Partey's not there, you better not take Granit Xhaka out as well. You want to have at least some of that experience and, consistency in the middle of the park. But what you're doing is seriously leaving a hole in such a crucial area of the park there. So I think before the game, that made people nervous as well. The other thing was clearly during the game, we even players that were playing in their preferred positions and we didn't have sort of issues in terms of injuries, even they didn't step up. And obviously we'll get into that. But games like that, off the back of a defeat, with injury problems and reshuffles, you really need players to kind of take it upon themselves and say, all right, I'm going to step up today and really make sure that they do their bit, win their battles against their men. And I think all over the park, really, not many players can turn around and say, I had a good day against my man. I think more Brighton players will turn around and say, do you know what? I enjoyed that game today. And therein lies the problem.
That's good. You say this when the lineup came out, everybody got a bit nervous and everything. I think as soon as the lineup came up, maybe about a few minutes later, I received a text message from Lev. Do you remember what you said to me, Lev? He said, Xhaka is playing at left back. We're going to lose today, man.
Well, like, in what world do you lose an experienced central midfielder in Partey, right? And then take away the only other experienced centre midfielder you have and put him at left back and put an inexperienced guy in the midfield in a game that you need to win. On top of that, prime example, Everton with Godfrey. He had a bad game the week before, cost him a goal, etc., etc. Could have benched him. Lampard could have benched him, but instead he gave him a chance, and the guy had a great game. Why ruin Tavares' confidence? Imagine being a left back. You're the understudy to Kieran Tierney. You have one bad game, you get pulled out, and then the central midfielder, the only central midfielder you have, takes your position. You're sitting on a bench. None of it makes any sense to me. It was ridiculously poor.
Well, we'll come to that level. We'll come to that.
Sorry,
Tom,
I'm just annoyed.
All right. What about your thoughts?
It was, I think, the Villarreal game first leg, the most I've been annoyed at Mikel Arteta since that game, because the team selection against Villarreal was so disappointing in such a crucial game, and again when the pressure's on, let down by that decision making. And we sat here last week, and I think all of us, with Dan, of course, who did really well in place of Moh. We missed you, Moh, but Dan did a really great job.
Not as well as you, Moh, obviously.
And all of us agreed that we pretty much put the Palace game majority down to the players. The players were dreadful. They just didn't turn up. There was no energy, no dynamism, no nothing. But this game was all about Mikel Arteta's mistakes, and there was no defence. And it's in those moments, I think, where where you really start to see kind of the viewpoint from people towards the manager. And I think that for all the sake of the discussions we've had about kind of, the Arteta in and out debate and all of that, that whilst we've, and me specifically, have certainly criticised people that have been, are Arteta out for no matter what happens, that, that would will Arsenal to lose to get Arteta out. I think that yesterday's game actually, from the other end of the spectrum, also kind of highlighted that other side of that even when, he's fully culpable for all of the errors that cost us, that, he still can't be blamed, or that there's still a spectrum, the other end of the spectrum, the fan base still won't criticise. I think it really highlighted that element from a fan perspective. But from the perspective of him, and I'm sure we'll talk about Tavares in more detail, but he's utterly killed the confidence of another player there. So, but I'll pause because I know you want to talk about that specifically.
Yeah, we'll come to the players later. But for me, this was exactly why I don't think Mikel Arteta is the right person for this job, because you see, in life, you make a mistake once, you say it's a mistake, you learn from it, you move on, you wouldn't do it again. If you do it again, it's stupidity, right? And Mikel Arteta did exactly what Tom said as well, and what happened in the semi-final of the Europa League last season. When the pressure is on, when you're in a very, very important time of your season, when there is an important moment that you've got to go out there and get a result, get a performance, you come up with that, taking Granit Xhaka out on left back, you're leaving your centre mid, not even bringing El Neni in. El Neni is not the best of, obviously, footballers, and we all know that, and he's probably going to be off. But you put Odegaard next to Sambi Lokonga, who's been out for such a long time, hasn't got a game, not a fault of his own, very young player. You've got to question that. There's a few things that worry me about this. One is Mikel Arteta does not obviously feel that there is any consequences. If he felt any pressure or consequence of not getting top four or the pressure of getting top four, he probably wouldn't have done that. He probably would have chosen the best possible team and go out there, because that wasn't our best possible team. I said it after the show against Palace that I said, I never thought I would say this, but I'll actually start Nketiah and Kent in place of Lacazette. And again, we all seen same things, we discussing it, but it seems that people who are supposed to see it are not seeing it. I like Alexander Lacazette. I've defended him a lot. But right now, you've got to say, listen, we need the goals. And it's not really happening. I just think it won't be the last time that Mikel Arteta will do something like this. What happened is, and Tom is right, I'm also very surprised with the amount of protection and defending that he gets from some, like, it doesn't matter what he does. Oh, he's the man. He's this, he's that. Are you not seeing what we're seeing? They spend every day in a training ground, right? Training, getting prepared. They only got a one time. So you spend all of that time, right? Or your test is basically 90-minute once a week right now. And now that is being failed. So what are you preparing throughout the week? You tried this Granit Xhaka thing at left back, which we're going to come to. So I just think this was completely on Mikel Arteta's fault. I think he was at fault for last game against Palace as well. And then people come in saying, "Oh, you got an agenda, you got this, you got that." I don't have an agenda against the guy. I don't have anything against him. I want more for my club, which is Arsenal Football Club. I don't expect this. I don't accept it either. That losing a Brighton at home. Brighton has not won a game for 7 games. Comes up against Arsenal, boom, they get a win. One of the probably teams that are not on form. There's another thing before I want to go on and discuss something else as well. This is very important, guys, so please just bear with me. We all talk about Arsenal. We all have different views. Okay? If my view on Mikel Arteta or any player is not same as your view, it doesn't mean you can go and come up with some insulting and abusive things. We've had that for the past few weeks on a live comment and post-show comments, especially towards Tom. And it's not acceptable. We're not going to accept it at Arsenal Lounge. We're all friends here. We're all part of this Arsenal family that everybody's referring to. So if Tom's view, my view, Mo and Lev's view is not same as your view, then please have the decency of having a respectable debate. I've seen Tom has a debate with people quite a lot when it's respectable. Like, if you make a point, he will come and address the point. I've seen that in comments during a live show or even after the show.
Unless
right?
it's Lev.
So please keep it clean, keep it respectful.
I'll stop, Tom. I'm sorry.
So just bear that in mind, because here at Arsenal Lounge, we like to be friendly with everybody and let everybody be heard. So keep it clean. Moving forward. Oh, by the way, Tom, did you want to say something about that? You got an article about this coming up, is it?
Oh, I think it's actually out now. It's just a piece about kind of the state of the Arsenal fan base in regards to the abuse that's going on. There's a few things that are going to hopefully happen in the future, but yeah, look, I appreciate what you said. For anyone that tuned in to Lee Judge's channel last night, and to be honest, I got off lightly. For those that watch Harry Symeou was on there as well, and people who watch Harry stuff know that he's been very supportive of the manager. But even he last night called Arteta out for a lot of the mistakes, just like I did there. And frankly, like, some of the stuff that was in that comment section was disgusting towards Harry. There was plenty towards myself as well. But Harry in particular got battered to the point where there was even racial stuff being brought up, which is, again, if you're going that far, it's disgusting. So more needs to be done across social media. We all know that. But yeah, like, it's at the end of the day, we're Arsenal fans. I can't stand people abusing. If someone's Arteta out, that's fine. Like, that's your opinion. You're entitled to it. You're allowed it. And after the game on Saturday, who could blame you? From being very critical of the manager and maybe even going as far about that with the coach. But because someone has a different viewpoint, you don't have to abuse them. You really don't. You can say, I disagree with your viewpoint, these are the reasons why, and move forwards and go back and forth for the debate. I really don't get what the idea of abuse is for, what the benefit of it is.
Can I just add on that? If you have to abuse someone because you don't agree with their standing point or their opinion, it shows a severe lack of intelligence or intellect, because you're not able to converse or communicate in another way other than just to abuse. And that says more about you than it does to the person you're abusing, in my opinion. But it still doesn't make people feel good. You just need to stop. Just stop. We're just two human beings talking about football. It's the sport we love. And that's what it is. It's just a sport. Why abuse people over sport? I don't understand.
It's a weird one as well, isn't it? Like, how can you be that, like, emotionally affected when someone's talking about a man you've never met? Like, yeah, he might manage your football team. People are acting like Will Smith, as if like someone's taking the mick out of their wife or something, the way they're abusing and getting all... Like, control yourself, calm your emotions. You know what I mean? Like, it shows like it's sometimes help.
Yeah, Mo. Sometimes it's like you talk about Arteta, and the guy, the way he's reacting is as if you insulted his mum or something. He takes it that personal. But anyway,
you know what? With the things going on in the world, there's some crazy, terrible things going around the globe right now, and people are not getting incensed, but then they get incensed.
I mean, look,
it's crazy.
The abuse of Harry is not just as well. Harry Harry did something really bad to us, and we didn't abuse him. He promised us he's going to invite us to a barbecue. Never came through.
I was wondering where you were going with that. I really was wondering where you were going with that.
His priorities, food. Again, as you can see. I did mention it earlier on in the show.
Let's move on. Lev, we are now in a position that if we want to have any chance of top, I personally think is gone, right? But for people who still think we've got chance and we've got to give it a go and all that, right? We've got to win every game from now to end of the season. Right? That means we've got to go to Stamford Bridge and win. We've got to go to White Hart Lane for sure and win, right? And hope they will drop points. Do you see that happening?
If the injuries are long-term as suggested, I will be bold enough to say right now we're not going to make top four. I will say it, and I'll say it quite confidently, unfortunately, because from what I've seen since the injuries, we don't have the strength in depth. And we knew this from January. We all sat here in January, and I went back, and because I was so incensed at the performance, I went back and watched that show we all did on transfer deadline day when we were expecting something to happen. And I clipped one of Mo's videos because it was the one about the gamble, Mo, and you were saying, this is clearly a gamble. And I was saying as well, why didn't we strengthen at least in central midfield if you can't find a striker? And we all said, what if? And the what ifs have come into fruition. And look what's happened to our team. And I just do not think we have the strength in depth to see us through unless the likes of Partey and Tomiyasu come back pretty quick. I don't think Kieran Tierney is going to be seen this season for the rest of the season. We've seen what happens when he tries to move things around. I mean, why buy a left back if you don't think he's good enough? He's had one bad game. I'm not being funny, but earlier on in the season, he had some good performances. You have one bad game. Give him a chance to bounce back, and it could have been totally different. We could have won that game, and he could have raised his confidence. And I just don't see it right now. And the difference between the likes of us and Spurs, for example, is when we've got our full team, our midfield is better than Spurs. It's more creative. I think our defense is arguably better than Spurs, but they have something we don't. They have world-class finishers up top, and we don't have that.
Lev, you say this, right? But I think the difference between us and Spurs is Antonio Conte and Mikel Arteta.
Well, you could say that, but he's inherited
Antonio Conte wouldn't let Aubameyang go for free. He probably would have kept him and got a lot more out of him.
This Aubameyang thing as well. Everyone says, shut up, move on. I've said it myself. But you cannot help but look back and go, with 20 minutes to go, do you want Eddie Nketiah coming on or Aubameyang? Wouldn't another manager have maybe looked at his own job and his own team and put that ahead of everything else and pulled him aside just for the remainder of the season and said, look, we need to work together. You need to pull your socks up. You need to get on with it. I'm going to give you a chance to redeem yourself. I would have rather have kept Aubameyang. I don't care anymore. I'm going to say it. And have Eddie Nketiah come on with 20 minutes to go. Lacazette hasn't scored in how many games? Like, how many players have we got on loan?
18 from
how many players have we got on loan? 12 players we got on loan, right? You knew in January Torreira weren't coming back. You knew in January Guendouzi wasn't coming back. You got rid of Ainsley Maitland-Niles on loan, even though you knew he was going to leave you short in midfield, and then you didn't replace anybody. And you weakened our team. We've all said it in that show. Go back and look at it in the chats. If you haven't seen the show on Transfer Deadline Day, go back and look at that January transfer window show. We all said you've weakened us and you haven't, you haven't strengthened. Go on, man.
And Lev, that's exactly the point, because as soon as you say to people that what they did in January, was unacceptable, the first thing that people say to defend them is, well, it's not that easy to get people in. Who would you have got in? And I'm like, wait, hold up. It's very, very tough to get people in January. I appreciate that. It's also quite hard to get people out. We're saying you'd have been better off doing nothing at all, which is the easiest thing to do. If you're not going to strengthen the team with additions, don't weaken the team with outgoings. And I feel like really that is you cannot argue that point. You cannot argue against that. You can, as people do, say it's hard to get people in, but come on, man. We literally weakened the squad. Yesterday, would Maitland-Niles not have come in handy? He can fill in for one game at left back. He can play central midfield. Torreira, Guendouzi, had we at different points people have gone out and that sort of thing, but especially the January runs. That's really my
Chambers as well, man.
Mo,
Like,
can I just say something here, Mo?
Go on, Shane.
It's not just about last night and then we lost if they were here. I'll go back to our exit from FA Cup. If they were here, we probably would not have lost that game. Because again, I remember for that game, we were short. We went to Nottingham Forest, we lost. Guendouzi would have played better in midfield for that game. We went out in League Cup again because COVID this, COVID that, we were short, Partey was injured, and so on. So we all know Thomas Partey hasn't had a great injury record since he's been at Arsenal. But fine, players have that. But at least have a backup. If he gets injured again from now to end of the season, what are you going to do?
Shaheen, what would have happened if we got Bruno Guimaraes when we had the chance to get him in January? Partey would have been injured. You would have put him in straight away. Done. Finished.
We probably wouldn't have lost that game. I'm not saying we lost it because of Thomas Partey that he wasn't there. But we probably wouldn't have gone further in the FA Cup. We probably wouldn't have lost last night. And the squad would have been more competitive because they're competing in training.
And I just want to make the point that the last league game of 2021, so the last game in December, we were in 4th place, 6 points clear of Tottenham, who had 3 games in hand. Okay? And Man United, we were 8 points clear of them. They had 3 games in hand. And, West Ham as well were in the mix. But really, you could say traditionally we were going to expect those to be our rivals. When you look at that league table that I've just outlined there, at the end of December, there's every single chance of getting top 4. That looks really, really good. I think many of us, if we could click our fingers and be back in that position, rather than the position that we're in now, we would go back and say, rather do it all again and see what happens. Because that's a really good position. And I'm just annoyed. It's not as though it wasn't on the cards and all of a sudden it started to present, the opportunity started to present itself. We should have been ambitious at that point to say, okay, look, in January, what's a good situation right now? Let's really go after it. That's an educated risk. That's an informed, ambitious gamble. Instead, as I said in the video at the time, the gamble seemed to be a really unambitious one, where they were saying, maybe we can get in squad.
The problem again,
whilst we do it.
Yeah, Mo. The problem, as I said it at the time as well, and again I said it today about the game against Brighton. There seems to be no consequences, or the manager doesn't feel that if I get this wrong, if I mess up this top 4 race, there will be consequences for me. Unai Emery was under huge pressure for finishing 1 point out of top 4 and losing the Europa League final. Huge pressure, right? But it seems that Mikel Arteta, he doesn't feel that, because if he felt it, he would have approached things differently. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's my opinion.
I think that's the dynamic of the squad as well, though, Shaheen. Like the difference why the pressure is different between Unai Emery and Arteta is because the situation that you find yourselves in with the squad is so different. Emery, the breakdown between the relationship of the squad of Emery and and his players was substantial. The difference between Arteta is the players haven't. Now, there's a strong argument to say that's because any player that shows any sign of, breaking away is moved on. I don't particularly mind that if it means that we're moving in the right direction and we replace those players. The issue is we haven't replaced them. I think that when you look at what we've done in January, and for people, and I saw there was a comment, I think, from Hugh, who's a very loyal listener as well, but I would disagree with his comment where he said a lot of revisionism is going on here. It's not revisionism, because if you go back and watch our Deadline Day podcast, we're just repeating what we said in that show. I mean, Moh summed it up really well in that show, and you highlighted the clip and you put it up and you uploaded it with it being a gamble. We gambled our top 4 in January. We gambled it. And whilst I disagree on the Conte argument that you raised earlier, I think if you swap Lacazette and Martinelli with Kane and Son, I don't think Conte gets that team without Kane and Son into the top 4. And also, what's interesting is when Conte took over Spurs were only 2 points behind us at that point. A lot of people seem to think they were like 10 odd points behind us when Conte took over, and he's closed a huge gap. He hasn't. In fact, before the Crystal Palace game, we were 1 point better off than when Conte took over. 2 games later, and a huge swing has happened. So reverse 2 games, and we were actually 1 point ahead of when Conte took over from Spurs, with a game in hand as well. So it does show you how quickly things do change. And I think that if you look at what we didn't do in January, which clearly was the striker scenario, letting Aubameyang leave, I don't have an issue with, but not replacing him is a huge, huge mistake, and it's definitely cost.
So you don't agree with me when I'm saying Arteta does not feel that if he doesn't finish top 4, he'll be like, you made an improvement, and to 8th finish, it's all right. Here's a new contract. I
don't think there's the pressure in the sense that I don't think there's a pressure from the club if he gets, say, 5th or 6th. I don't think there's any pressure on his job. No, I don't think so. But I don't think there was pressure on Emery's job when he finished 5th either, because at that point, Raul Sanllehi, and it's well documented, wanted to offer him a new contract. So there wasn't pressure because the club were willing to offer him a new deal. They didn't. They held back. And the reason why they did is because there was still some doubts from other people within the hierarchy, and that then later showed when everything fell apart at the start of the season, and then they ended up getting rid of him. So no, there wasn't pressure on Emery.
Let's go back to Edu's interview earlier on this season. He did not. I know it can be different what's said privately to what's said publicly, but publicly he did not give any sort of level of expectation. He didn't set a single target. All he said was, "I want to see how the team perform when everyone's fit." And based on that comment, when everyone has been fit, Arsenal performed well. But that's not football, is it? That's not football. People do get injured. You have to be able to adapt to that. So I don't think there is any pressure on Arteta personally. But what I would say is that he has, based on what I was expecting from him, over-delivered this year. I didn't think we'd be in with a chance of top 4. I thought top 6 is, the top 6 finishes what we're going to be on track for, and he's looking at top 5. So whether that's down to other teams being pretty bloody awful, or whether that's down to his good work, I'd say he's around the level that he should be at, potentially will over-deliver. And I think that's how it will be viewed as internally. That's not to say that's what I think should be the target, but you also have to be fairly realistic about 2 8th place finishes and a wafer-thin squad and think, all right, what are we going to do?
Yeah, but
Shaheen, wait, does a better manager put that team out that Arteta put out? Does a better manager let the likes of Saliba, who's outperformed even the likes of Gabriel this season? I've seen Tom's article on that as well. Good article, by the way, mate. Look, even if we had Saliba, it would have given you more options, right? Because then you could have played a back 3. Why is he not playing one of the centre backs at right back or left back, for example? Why is he playing a central midfielder left back? It don't make any sense to me. And these are the areas that are costing us. And I understand what Mo's saying, he's overachieving, but also it shows a real lack of ambition, because you've got a chance and there was players available in January and you chose to just go with this plan you've got. And again, it's poor planning, because everyone could have seen that a couple of injuries, we were wafer thin.
Yeah. And see, Lev, this is what I wanted to kind of finish off that thing about, in terms of over expectation and stuff, because if as fans, we are going to be fair enough to say to the club with our criticisms that, fine, we'll take it in context of 2 8th-place finishes and not demand that we challenge for the title, not even demand that we get top 4. If we're going to be reasonable fans and understand that it's a process and it's a journey and say that, okay, we will tolerate top 6, if we're going to apply context, they should apply context. The context in December, leading up to that January transfer window, was that we can really overperform this season, go and do it. So they also have that burden of being reasonable and looking at the context of a situation and then reacting accordingly. Fans have done it. They didn't do it. That's what I'm annoyed about.
Yeah, I think we've been fair. Sorry, Tom.
No, I was going to say that the big alarm signs for me is that if you rewind a year, when the real crunch time was on at the Europa League point, we lost Kieran Tierney, same as we did now. And how did he react when we lost Kieran Tierney? He put Granit Xhaka at left back, and we missed out on the Europa League final, and it cost us Champions League football. Fast forward a year later, we lose Kieran Tierney. We have a backup left back that we've been told was dropped at half-time against Crystal Palace for tactical reasons, quote. And yet, against Brighton, the solution to not having Kieran Tierney is to put Granit Xhaka at left back. Bearing in mind, we also had Partey for those Villarreal games, and we didn't have Partey here. So we were even weaker in midfield. That's the big alarm bell for me with Mikel Arteta, is because the same mistakes that cost us at the end of last season have happened again. And I've always maintained that, I will continue to support Arteta until I stop seeing progress, be it with the league position out of Europe again for a 3rd season in a row, or be it these types of mistakes. And if these types of mistakes keep happening, there is no one that really can deny that. How can you argue progress is taking place when these mistakes happen in exactly the same form an entire 365 plus days after they happened last time?
And
what?
With Granit Xhaka going to left back and so much focus being on that position, the way Brighton scored their first goal as well, it's sort of like a manager's nightmare. You're probably thinking, on any game, when you make a brave call, you're probably thinking, God, I hope we don't get punished in like a really obvious way from that area of the pitch. And my God, that gaping hole that was left. Not that Xhaka did anything criminal, but clearly he doesn't have that ability and that defensive awareness and discipline about when he should move, how high he should press, when he should delegate. He's not used to doing it. So I'll cut him some slack, but it was Arteta's decision, fully exposed and fully punished.
Do you know what? I don't know. Am I the only one who's seen this situation as totally unacceptable? Because I look back on it and I can't find anything that would make me feel good about what's happening right now and Mikel Arteta. Because I'm looking back on a season, not last 2 games, season, right? Out of Europe altogether, out of League Cup, out of FA Cup first round. League Cup, I would have thought, okay, fine, maybe play some youngsters and that, but still, that would have been a way that we could have gone into Europe. Out of FA Cup quite quickly, inconsistent, whereas you go on a good run and then you lose a couple of games with silly performances and mistakes, which is exactly what's happening right now. And I hear what you guys are saying, whereas at the beginning of the season, we would have taken this position. I probably would have as well. But things change and you need to adapt to that. We're presented with a situation or with the possibility that we could have finished in the top 4. And what we've done is we're kind of like, you know what? Yeah, whatever, our target was to finish 5th or 6th. We'll go along with that. When I'm saying there is no pressure on Mikel Arteta, is there's no pressure on him from higher up people at the club saying, listen, we've got this opportunity now. You need to finish in top 4. It's a must. He doesn't feel that. So if he felt this sort of pressure, if this sort of pressure was there, I'll bet you any money, right? He would not have gone into that game like this, and the Palace game might have been different. So am I being over the top? Am I being ultra negative? Or what? Because I'm finding out I'm the only one with this opinion out of us.
Before we go any further, there's a Spurs troll in here. Apparently, North London is white thanks to us, North London isn't trophyless. That's all I have to say. So can we just ignore people like that? Just ridiculous.
Yeah. Also, sorry, just before we get that, let me just read a super chat from Perry as well. He's one of our regulars. Thanks, Perry, for your kind super chat. Lacazette needs to reply that will be the best solution for both him and Arsenal Football Club. No goals, no play for 18 games unacceptable. Yeah, and unfortunately, he keeps getting started. So somebody can tell me.
Yeah, let's talk about Lacazette, man. I mean, who would anyone here start him in the next game against Southampton?
This is a funny one, Mo.
No,
Right,
because
it was only It was only a couple of weeks ago.
I said I'll start Nketiah.
It was only a couple of weeks ago. People were saying, and I think a couple of us might have said it as well, like he was doing a good job. He's hold up play, this, that, and the other. We should maybe even give him an extra contract for what he's doing. All of a sudden, I do think he's a bit of a scapegoat because it's easy to say Lacazette's not scoring, so it's his fault. And to some extent, you're right, it is. But then at the same time, he's been asked to do a job that's not really, it's not natural for him to play in that role. A target man when he's back to goal. It's not him. So we've asked him to do a job he's not capable of really doing, but he's done okay. But now we've lost a couple of games. Everyone's highlighting Lacazette. Don't get me wrong, he's not my first starter. He's not my first choice. I wanted a better striker, but it's easy to just blame Lacazette, isn't it?
But I don't think he has done okay. As Tom mentioned earlier, it's been 18 games since he scored a goal in open play. That to me is mad. The last time he scored a goal in open play was against Southampton. We've got them next. It might be a good luck charm. Southampton just lost 6-0 to Chelsea and even let Timo Werner score 2 goals. Yeah. So if there's ever a team to go and score against, Southampton.
Who wins without a proper striker? What top-level team doesn't have a proper striker? This
is why that Kane and Son are the difference for Spurs. This is why they're the difference for me over Antonio Conte. And, you know, I think, again, people look at this in such a binary way. Me saying that I think Kane and Son are the reason why Spurs is not me saying that I don't think Conte's not doing a good job at Spurs. He's clearly improved them. He's clearly made them better than what they were under Nuno. But the biggest key factor for me and the reason why they would finish fourth over us is because they've got 2 world-class players that are in the final third of the pitch that are getting them goals and they're dragging them through games. That's the reason.
Yeah. The rest of that team isn't that great, is it, Tom? Really, to be honest with you,
it's honest. Obviously, I think, and also when you look at what they did in January, they brought in Bentancur and Kulusevski, who I have to hold my hands up about. I genuinely didn't think they were going to be that big of an improvement on what they already have, and I was so wrong on it because Kulusevski has been really strong for them, and Bentancur has definitely improved their midfield over Harry Winks and Skip etc. who they were using in the first half of the season. So they added in January, the team that was competing for top 4 with us added 2 starters, whilst we obviously moved on a starter in Aubameyang. Not that I had necessarily an issue with it, but we didn't replace him and we didn't add a midfielder as well. And when we talk about the summer, I'm very complimentary about the summer that we had, the 6 signings we made, great. But I will never call that a perfect summer window because we never signed a central midfielder that was the priority signing during that window. And when you bring up those arguments like we did on Twitter the other day, Lev, about Bruno Guimaraes not coming in, it was a £37 million signing. And people look at it quite loosely and say, well, he's not getting into the Newcastle team yet. He doesn't need to right now. Eddie Howe's got a team that's working. John Joe Shelby is playing really well for them and he's getting the wins. So why would you change it right now? You don't need to. Guimaraes isn't even needed at the moment there. But I tell you what, he would have been certainly needed at Arsenal and he certainly would have been doing a better job than we currently have right now with the options that we currently have.
Yeah. 100%.
Guys, I want to do something with you guys. I want to go through the Arsenal fixtures to end of the season, right? So every one of you will get a game and then win, lose, draw prediction kind of thing, not score line, win, lose, draw kind of thing. And then I want to see what you guys think based on what's obviously as things are today. So considering the last 2 games of that. So I'll start with Tom. Saturday, Southampton away.
It's impossible, isn't it? It's really hard. Oh, I'll say win. Man.
Win.
Yeah.
Okay. Wednesday, Moh. Chelsea away.
I'm glad you got this one, man.
Yeah, lose.
Yeah, I would have said the same thing. Lev, Saturday, Man United at home.
Oh, we're both just as bad as each other. But the difference between us and them is they have got some world-class players in that team. You can't deny
worse
it.
than us.
Yeah,
So win, lose,
they're
draw.
worse than us. They're not worse than us.
Win, lose, draw.
They're going to beat us.
Lose.
Yeah.
So we've got 2 losses so far. That's champion. I don't even think I should go through the rest. Tom, West Ham away. Made a trust.
Wait, can I just get rid of this big boss man? He's a no. Sorry, big boss man, but you're getting on my nerves now. So go to shut up, mate.
Enjoy their time in the sun. It's practically a trophy for them. Draw against West Ham.
Harsh, I didn't see any abuse from Big Boss Man.
Mo.
It's not about abuse. He's just a Spurs fan, just
Still
trolling.
Mo. Leeds at home.
win.
Lev. You shouldn't have laughed at Mo earlier. Tottenham away.
Oh, fucking hell. Draw.
Draw.
By then, we might have some players back by then.
What? Only Thomas Partey?
No, you might have Tomiyasu back.
No, Tommy Yasu back.
Draw.
Tomiyasu and Partey make a massive
Okay,
difference.
no. All right.
Thanks. All right, yeah.
Mo.
No, Xhaka's still at left back, lad.
Tom. Newcastle away.
Oh, God. Oh, Mr. Optimistic. Win.
Win, you said.
Yeah.
Mo. Everton at home. Last game of the season.
Win.
So we only predicted 4 wins out of the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. That would possibly mean we'll finish 5th or 6th at best, depending on other teams around us as well.
In fairness, we all predicted around that. I think I might have had 5th or 6th. And
No. That's a different. That's
yeah,
different.
but I'm just saying we did say that at the beginning.
I'm saying for argument's sake. Right? Worst case scenario, we'll finish 6th.
Yeah.
A possibility, right? Because some of these games are real. I think West Ham away is a tricky game. Man United at home, Tottenham away, Chelsea away, Newcastle away is going to be a tricky one. And you know what? Last game at home, Everton. If they need something, I know you say.
Newcastle and Everton will be safe this weekend in the Premier League.
You think so? No. You think if Everton come into us,
Everton are going to turn it around
because they're in a relegation thing. You think
No,
that's the
this
mistake?
weekend for me has told me a lot about what's going to happen in the league this year. It's told me that the bottom 3 are going to get relegated. The fact that Norwich beat Burnley was huge, and Leeds, Newcastle, and Everton all winning. You know, other relegation teams would have been looking at Everton thinking they won't beat Man United. They beat Man United. That would be a massive kick in the teeth. So the bottom 3 is the bottom 3. What you want to do at this stage of the season is play teams with nothing to play for. Teams like Brighton, which we just lost to. But at the end of the season, specifically, Newcastle, Everton, if we've got top 4 still on the cards at that point, that's the only kind of caveat that I'd have. As long as we've got that, then we will walk those games because.
Okay, let's stick to the kind of prediction that we just done. So worst case scenario, we'll finish 6th, right? Best case, we'll finish 5th. 1 point difference is not a major thing. Season is done.
Can you bring up Carlito El Guna's question then? I want to bring this back into now. See how we're feeding. At the top there. I'll do it.
I wasn't particularly done, Lev.
Well, this is part of the whole thing.
Still going on about it, but yeah, essentially, where would you
still going on about it, was there?
Since you came up with that,
yeah.
Why don't you have a go at it? We'll finish 6th, Lev.
Yeah.
Where would that leave you with Mikel Arteta? Will you count the season as a failure?
From the position that we were in, yes, I would. Now I would. And the reason I say it, and I've had a long think about this, and we discussed this last week, I think, but Dan was on the show. And I said, if it's down to the fact that we did not strengthen when we had the chance in January, and it comes down to that being the reason why we didn't make top 4, when we had it in our hands with 2-3 games in hand, all right, and then because of a couple of injuries, we lost to some average, below average teams. I mean, Brighton's one of the worst teams in the league, and we lost to them, and they outplayed us at times. So to me, if it's down to those decisions, you've got to look at it and say, well, look, if you had a better manager, those decisions wouldn't have been made. We would have not maybe got rid of Aubameyang. If we did get rid of Aubameyang, we would have replaced him with someone at least, and the midfield area would have been addressed, and we would have made top four. So now I'm in the camp that top four has been missed, if it is missed, because of those decisions, and those decisions have to fall on someone's head, and that on their lap. And for me, that's Arteta.
Okay. Someone just said something interesting on a comment, and I thought it's a good idea. So I want to try this as well. So I want to do the exact same thing we just done, predicting the Arsenal games, and I want to go through Tottenham fixtures. And then if you guys predict a win,
I just kicked the Spurs. Yes, we should have kept him in now.
So their first game is Saturday, Brighton at home. Tom,
they're going to win that. Yeah.
Right. Mo, Brentford away.
Draw.
Lev, Leicester at home.
Draw.
I love the optimism.
Tom, Liverpool away.
I think they're going to draw that game.
I'm only saying draw because I don't want to say they win because I can't stand them.
No,
they just have a
what's the
habit
point, man? We need to be realistic because there's a point to this.
The reason why I say draw against Liverpool is they just have a habit of getting points against the likes of City and Liverpool. They just do it. They always do it.
Mo, Arsenal at home.
Draw.
Lev, Burnley away. Burnley at home, sorry.
Spanking. They're going to win that all day long.
Weghorst hat-trick.
Norwich away.
They'll batter them. They'll batter Norwich.
So just putting the things on top of my head together, they'll probably have gained more point than us based on what we predict.
You didn't even do the calculation. Come on, you
could have asked Mo. Mo's good at maths.
Yeah,
roughly, we predicted about 4 or 5 wins for them.
I've been doing the calculation as we went along. You said we predicted 4 wins for Arsenal.
No, we predicted 3 wins for Arsenal.
It was only 3.
3.
Yeah.
Oh, bloody hell. Okay. 3 wins, and what was it? A couple of draws?
2 draws, rest is drop points.
Okay, so then we're saying 9 points for the wins, 11 points,
12.
including the 2 draws. That puts us on, from where we are now, 54, 65 points.
Okay. For Tottenham, we predicted
57.
no loss. For Tottenham, we said no loss, 5 wins, and the rest were draws.
Well, there we go. Not even close.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, which brings me to that, Mo. Season has come to an end. We're 5th or 6th, and the way it has ended as well. Would you look back on the season as a failure or a success, and where would that leave you with the manager?
It's all about from what point you look at it from failure or success, and that changes your answer. If someone said to me 20 years ago, in 2022, Arsenal finished 6th, I'd be saying failure because we were bloody brilliant then. Someone said it to me at the start of the season that Arsenal finished 5th or 6th, I would have said, yeah, on par. And if someone said it to me after the 3rd game of the season when we were bottom of the league, I'd say, from this point, that would be good. But if someone said it to me from December, end of December, when we had that 4th spot in our grasp, and we had a transfer window ahead of us to really cement it, I would have said that would be a failure. So it's really difficult. But I think the most logical place to draw that line, that's your anchor to come back to with your decision, I would say that should be the start of the season. What did I think would happen at the start of the season? I thought 5th or 6th, and I thought that would be acceptable, provided it passes the eye test, which is the most important one. That would be acceptable, given that we had 2 8th place finishes. Now, the way I see it is that Arteta has passed the eye test. He has improved certain areas of the team, and that's also with some really stupid decisions in terms of such a wafer-thin squad. If we can add some quality to the team, not have a stupidly wafer-thin squad, and he continues to pass the eye test, yes. But a friend of mine sent me this stat earlier, and he'll probably be watching, so appreciate this, Jay. 17-18, we scored 76 goals in the league season. 18-19, 73 goals. 2021, this is when Arteta came in, 55. This season, in 30 games, 45. It's very, very clear what the issue is. Remember with Emery, we used to have like real volatile open games. I always used to describe them in my interviews as a coin toss. Every game with Emery was a coin toss. You don't know what's going to happen. With Arteta, you do know there'll be more control over the game. You know, a lot of the games will win on expected goals, but obviously the result is different. But with Emery, you'd never even know what's going to happen on expected goals. There was no pattern to our play. So in terms of the eye test, in terms of control and managing a game, generally, I've seen an improvement from Mikel Arteta. And on that basis, the eye test would keep him in the job. There was definitely a point in time where I think around December last season where the eye test should have had him sacked. But he survived that. And we know this is a longer-term project. Clearly, if Guardiola or Klopp became available, I'd be saying, yeah, Arteta, I don't care about the eye test, you're gone. But being realistic, we are going to stick with him. And I think 5th or 6th place is an acceptable return from this season based on what I thought at the start of the season. And please do not get it twisted. This is not what I think is acceptable for my club. But this is the journey to that point that I think is what's acceptable for Arsenal.
Tom, what about you?
Well, thankfully, Mo's done a lot of the hard work for me because
Why? Because you can't be bothered.
After writing about Arsenal for 8 hours, it's
great. We get jaded, Tom. We get jaded, Tom.
Honestly, try doing a 10-6 shift about Arsenal on Sunday after we lost that game against Brighton. It was horrific. But no, I agree with everything that Mo has said there. What I would add to it is that in regarding kind of the contract situation for me, I wouldn't offer him a new deal if we finish 5th or 6th at the end of the season, just because I think we need to give ourselves the control in this scenario. We go into next season and we have more evidence about, if what we did in 2021, which, despite it not being a perfect window, there was a lot of good stuff that still happened, and certainly an overhaul of the way in which Arsenal approach transfer windows in comparison to the decade that had gone before that. So, I would want to see that kind of seen through to see if it goes. What I would say, though, is that, if someone said to me that we could go and get a coach who's better, right, and you could guarantee me that in the summer, at the end of the season, we can go and get a manager who is better than Arteta, and that is also of the same mind of Arteta and a lot of things that he's done off the field in overhauling the way that Arsenal operate, off pitch wise, then I would be really open to that, because I think that what we've seen from Arteta in terms of on-field stuff, especially in pressure scenarios this season, is that, we are going to be restricted in how effective we are at dealing with those things. And it could cost us, and it is costing us. What I would also say is that, prior to the Crystal Palace game, we were really in this top 4 race and really looking like we could overachieve this season. And we have been hit by some huge injuries. There's no getting away from it. I know that it's easy to just go, we're making up excuses. But Thomas Partey is our best player this year, in 2022, without a shadow of a doubt, and we've lost him. Using our 2 starting fullbacks and then going to drop down to Tavares or even Granit Xhaka, which is Mikel Arteta's mistake, but going down to one of those 2 instead of Tierney and going down to Cedric over Tomiyasu is a big drop down. The issue for me is obviously with Arteta is how he's dealt with those absences, and I don't think he's dealt with them well at all. And that's where the criticism is. But we can't say that those aren't huge, big problems for us as we go and approach the rest of this season. So, before we had those issues, we were really in this. And I think there is strong evidence behind that. I think, Mo, you hit the nail on the head about the goals. That needs to be addressed. And so that's what's interesting about the summer window, is if we genuinely go out and buy that top quality striker and we're still scoring in the 40s and 50s, that gives you all the evidence that you need, even more so to kind of nail home that point. But I think I'd still give him the extra season, but I wouldn't give him the new contract.
Can I ask a question, Shaheen? Based on this, or are you still going on? Sorry. Can I ask
I was going to say my piece, but if go on, if you must.
Right, very, very quickly, yeah. We've all said that goals were an issue. Yeah, we've seen it. These guys are professionals. They must look at the statistics. They must look at everything. We also all know of Arsenal's history when it comes to injuries. If there's a bad injury timing-wise to happen to Arsenal, it will happen. We've all seen it. We all saw it. In January, we were crying out for reinforcements. He didn't do it. We can all sit here and say about the injuries, Partey. We all said, what if Partey gets injured? Didn't we? And then the Aubameyang thing, it's even worse when you look at it. With statistically, we're not scoring goals. Okay, he was causing issues, but at the same time, look at man management in the past. I know it was a different era, but look at what Alex Ferguson did with people like Cantona, who were terrible to some of the things he did. But he didn't bite his nose off to spite his own face. He found a way of sorting that. If you're not going to replace a striker, you shouldn't be selling or getting rid of someone who is capable, if his head's switched on, to get goals. You find a way to get him scoring goals. So my question is, knowing what we know now, would you guys have let Aubameyang leave?
Absolutely not. It's very hard to make the case because you asked a very compelling question earlier, Lev, when you said 20 minutes ago, who would you rather come on, Nketiah or Aubameyang? If you ask that question to the 100-odd managers in Europe's top 5 leagues, what do you think they're going to be saying for their teams, for their squads? The fact of the matter is he was problematic. I believe Arteta in that. So he was forced to make that decision. But then, come on, man, you then have to add someone. And that's
Tammy Abraham was available, Mo. Tammy Abraham was available. We let him go to Roma.
Yeah, I'm not really convinced on him either. But you know what else is disappointing? And this comes back to Lacazette. Where are you stepping up? You know now it's all on you. What has he done since Aubameyang's left the club?
Yeah. I mean, if that's all right with Lev, I'd like to go back and finish off the point that I was saying earlier. Before,
can I just read out this super chat sheet?
No, you can't. Because before you...
I'm joking. Sorry, bro. Sorry.
If we finish 5th or 6th this season, I don't think you'd be surprised by me saying this. I think that is totally unacceptable and I would get rid of him. And I'll tell you why. I agree with Mo, with what you said at the beginning of the season. You look at this, and I would have taken 5th or 6th. Agreed. The only thing, things have changed. Right? We're presented with the opportunity. We didn't take that opportunity due to recruitment team, which Arteta is part of it, not addressing the issues at the time. 1. 2, due to mistakes that Arteta keeps making, especially when we're under pressure, especially when we need a win, i.e. the Europa League semi-final and the game against Brighton or even Crystal Palace. He has 1 game a week this season. Next season, it's going to be Thursday, Sunday. Different thing, different ball game to manage. What happened if he falls out with another player? The first thing he's going to do, off you go out of the window. I think a more experienced manager would have dealt with all of these things differently. What Tom said, and I agree with, is injuries happen. We all know that. It's not Arteta's fault or anything like that at all. It's about how you deal with these injuries. And playing Granit Xhaka at left back, especially, and this was not on my mind, and Tom raised this, that you did the same thing last year and you felt, it shows that you've not learned from your mistakes. It shows that you will potentially make the same mistake again. And we're not in a stage in an Arsenal Football Club that we can have somebody who keeps making these mistakes in crucial times. We need an experienced manager to come in, sort things out, and start getting results. Win a cup. If you presented the opportunity, go forward. I'll tell you something. Next season, if Man United gets Erik ten Hag, maybe, potentially, they will be better. They'll make quite a few signings. Yeah, I know you don't agree, Tom, but maybe.
I just think that's the worst appointment.
Maybe Antonio Conte will have...
Who knows?
Yeah, maybe not. We don't know.
Wait,
Antonio Conte maybe will have a decent transfer window. Tottenham might be better.
I'm curious about that, Tom. You think Ten Hag will be bad for United?
I think that it's... I think that if they give him the time, then it could come good. But that's not what happens at United, ever. And the thing about Erik ten Hag is at Ajax, he has the perfect scenario for him. Not only does he have a club that is, dominant in the league that it is, in the way that they can bring through youth and, expose plenty of youth talent to more minutes because they're going up against oppositions that they know they can beat if they field half of their, senior squads in most of the games during that league with respect to the Eredivisie. It's just, the way in which it is for Ajax. They can field half of of their young stars and half of their senior team, and they would still be able to, come out against most of the bottom half teams in the Eredivisie, and they do. And that's why you see young players like De Ligt and Van der Beek come through and, excel. But at United, I don't think that's going to happen. Ralf Rangnick is a brilliant tactician and a brilliant coach and needs time. And you
No, but
see
Tom-
what's happened there with him.
Yeah, but Tom, the difference with Rangnick is that these players are intentionally managing him out. I would go as far as saying they're almost.
Why is that? Why is that?
Well, they just don't like him. They just
What if
dislike
they
him.
don't like what Ten Hag does? Because
Yeah,
Ten Hag's
exactly.
Well, this is the
philosophy
problem. It's
isn't
a
going to be
problem.
too, it's not going to be wildly dissimilar to
No,
the
but
kind
his
of
character
what-
might be different. Rangnick has not offered these players any protection. Rangnick, throughout, for me, has been a guy that's sort of like, I know I'm not going to be managing you guys next year. It's almost like he's been come out with the job to expose, in a way, because his managers always protect, and he's offered them no protection. So for me, these players have reacted really badly to that. It's big players. If a manager exposes you, you'll turn around and be like, I'll show you, and you'll do your talking on the pitch. But these guys have all gone on a sulk, and they've all gone on social media and done their little essays. So provided Ten Hag likes them, provided they like Ten Hag, because if that's what they do to manage.
Oh, we've lost him. Oh, he was
Yes,
on
I
such a
think
good
we
run.
lost him.
He was on such a
Let me
good
just,
run.
let me just
Hey,
quickly.
I noticed as well, Shaheen, you didn't ever go when these two interrupted you. But every time I do,
I was just going to do that.
no,
now.
I'm just. It's
I
not.
was just going to. Well, Mo went a bit funny because I was going to tell him if your Man United loving has come to an end, I'd like to finish my point. So,
Mo's
basically-
frozen for a minute.
Oh, he's
I would
back. He's
tactic
back.
Arteta. I would not, this is unacceptable for me if he finishes out of top four, and I don't understand the loyalty that some people have to him because he was part of a panic buy of Arsene Wenger when we lost 8-2 at Man United. At best, an average midfielder for us, not even a
I think
legend.
that's why.
I don't understand the loyalty to him. Anyway, that's my opinion. I expect more from my football club, and I don't think Mikel Arteta would ever present that. Let me just read the super chat before I go to the next topic. I think we need to beat Spurs away, draw at Chelsea, and win the remaining 6 games to make top four. That will be 3 points. That will be enough. Perry thinks. We kind of all disagree because what we predicted was completely different. But
Oh my god!
Someone's just said Joe Chibio.
Lock him lower. You
Oh my god! I don't want that
Oh.
ball scratching,
Anyway.
nose picking manager in my team.
I'm just conscious of the time as well. So let's look ahead. First opportunity for Arteta and the team to put things right is Southampton away. So if we can have kindly your predictions, Tom.
Oh, my days. It's just.
You know, we'll listen. This is a bit of a formality on this because Lev is he's in a very difficult place to come back.
I've got to try and capitalize
That's-
on the situation now, and maybe I have to just start being more bold and
You're in the
saying
same
we're going to lose.
position at Arsenal, Lev. You need to get a lot right until the end of the season.
I'm going to start being honest in the sense of if I think my team's going to lose, I'm going to say it because it is what it is.
All right.
Go on, Tom.
Tom,
See, the thing is, it's so tactical, isn't it? Because
if it's
I
tactical,
can't-
we're going to lose.
I am going to say 1-0 Arsenal.
Mo?
Was that what Mo was going to say? Yeah.
That's what I was leaning towards. Yeah.
Yeah. You can say that.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to. Yeah, it's annoying though. I thought no one else would go for that, but yeah, 1-0 Arsenal as well.
Lev?
I'm going to go 2-0 Southampton.
Fuck him!
Wow.
Yep. I'm going. It's not about Arsenal anymore. They're letting me down. It's about me and this bloody £200 meal that's going to cost me. So 2-0 Southampton. And the worst that will happen is
I'm gonna
Southampton lose and I can deal with that.
Right, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
Oh, so whatever happens, someone's getting points and someone isn't.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I can't be hoping my team lose. It's such a bad thing. It's like what the
It's
hell?
done. It's done.
Can
I
just
normally
say
like to
quickly?
ask you guys a question with a yes or no answer. So just a yes or no, please. And then after we can elaborate on it if you like. Would you start Tavares at left back?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry.
Cheers, Tom. Take my. You know what I mean?
Yes,
like,
just
this is getting
yes.
ridiculous. Yeah, I would 100%.
You would let Mo?
Yeah, I would. And if he doesn't want to do that, I would still put Xhaka in central midfield. I don't care if you put Holding in the middle and one of the existing centre backs out on the left or something. Just shore up that midfield, especially away from home.
Okay. And Tom, obviously, you would as well. And what do you think this substitutions that has been happening to this guy lately? Mentally, where do you think he is now, Mo?
Oh, Tavares.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's very, very tough for him, isn't it? I think it's even worse because, you're taking such a massive risk in putting Xhaka on that side. All of that effort, all of that risk, just not to play you. I mean, that's really, really quite tough to take. Poor man management, which we've spoken about in the past with Arteta. Honestly, if I was the manager, I had no intention of playing Tavares because I have that little faith in him. I would have feigned an injury. I would have said, unfortunately, Tavares is injured, and that completely protects him. I think it's poor man management. Now, I feel like, Tavares might be really effective.
Is that the same thing? Is it the same thing as Nicolas Pepe, Mo? Whereas you're sitting on the bench and Eddie Nketiah is coming on ahead of you.
Yeah, well, I think this one is a much clearer case of awful man management because Tavares is very young, very inexperienced, especially in the Premier League and stuff. Pepe should be a bit more robust. But yeah, equally with Pepe, I kind of feel like Arteta seems to be very clear when he doesn't trust someone, and Pepe is also on that lack of trust list.
Okay. We've been going for about an hour and 5 minutes now. Lev, you want to say something?
On that Tavares thing, I don't think Tavares is as bad as people think. He's actually got a lot of potential, Tavares, and I watched him quite a lot when he was Benfica, wasn't it? Was that? Yeah. Yeah, and he was playing in Champions League as well, and I was impressed with him a few times when I saw him. I don't think he's as bad as it made out, but unfortunately, he's come in at a bad time. He's had a couple of mistakes, and I think man management is to get a player aside and give him the confidence to say, listen, mate, forget about what happened last week. Get back out there and show him what you can do. And he didn't. And I think that's poor management.
Can I just say as well that a manager is not the only variables aren't players. Where you've got a player like Tavares that's short on confidence, in order not to weaken your team in the central midfield area, what Arteta could do is just say to Tavares, you're left back, but I don't want you bombing forward. I want you to just do one job really well. Make it really simple for him. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't increase the risk on his role on that day. If his job is to always be within 20 yards of the left-sided centre-back, and make sure that he's doing his defensive duties, he'll have an average game. That's all he needs right now. No one looking at him, talking about him after the game. You can say to Cedric, you be the more adventurous one, for example, on that occasion, just where the heat is on Tavares. But, that's what I would do if I was Arteta.
But also, Mo, on that point, part of Arsenal's system and the way we're playing relies heavily on fullbacks bombing on and overlapping the wingers. Right, and that's Tavares. If anything, that's Tavares' strength as well.
Yeah. But Lev, when we have a fully fit team, Tomiyasu does go forward, but it's really he's the inverted fullback, and it's really Tierney. So what I'm saying, in the event of all these injuries, make Tavares your Tomiyasu and say to him, you don't have to gamble too much. We just want you to have a really good game today. Make it simple for him. And give Cedric the license so we can still kind of have that inverted system. And I know Cedric is not exactly the best going forward, but I think that's a better way of approaching the game and the situation with Tavares than either leaving him out entirely or giving him the complexity of his role in that game to then go and get absolutely annihilated down the left-hand side.
It's called managing the situation, something Mikel Arteta should learn from you more. Tom? Anything you want to add about this Tavares situation?
Honestly, if this is the end of Tavares, okay, I'm going to put this out there. I don't think Tavares should play for Arsenal again, and I think he's going to be sold in the summer. That's my prediction.
Really?
That's your prediction, or that's what you think should happen?
There's not what I think should happen. I think there's a talent there, and I think that he should have played against Brighton. But yeah, I don't think he'll play for Arsenal again, and I think he'll be sold. If he does play again, say again, sorry?
Same thing with Nicolas Pepe, you think?
I would be surprised if Nicolas Pepe is here next season.
Me too. Mo?
Also, really important point. If anyone wants a snapper turtle, someone is giving one away in the chats. So if you're a snapper turtle fan, have a little scroll through.
Mo? Pepe will be here next season?
I think Tavares probably won't be. I don't see what's going to change so significantly where Arteta wants to play him. So there's no point in having him in the squad then. And Pepe, I think, is a very tough one to call. But I think if that's the Pepe one won't be based on what Arteta wants. That'll be based on market forces, in my opinion, where, with Arteta, Tavares will go. It won't matter what we really get for him because he wasn't such a big investment. But with Pepe, if we get a decent offer, he'll go. If we don't, he'll stay.
No, sorry, Lev. Think Pepe will be here next season on Tavares?
No, I don't. I don't
Just
think
for
Pepe will
context,
be.
there were 2 inquiries about Pepe in
I thought he was going to say the snapper turtle. Now
No,
got my hopes
no.
up. I don't think he'll be here. No.
Okay. We've been doing this for about an hour, 10 minutes, guys. Thank you very much for watching us. Thanks for being here. Hit the like.
Wait, Shaheen. Sorry to interrupt, but Tom previously had promised that we would get a random question at the end of each show, and he gave us a good one a few weeks back. You wasn't on. Obviously, he felt more comfortable doing these sort of things with me, Shaheen, but for some reason, he's gone back into his shell. Sorry about the snapper turtle.
He was waiting for that.
But where's the random questions, Tom?
Okay. What is the one food that you literally could not live without?
Iranian food all day long.
No, like an ingredient, not like in a genre of food.
Shaheen just says food. That's it.
One food item.
Iranian food as well. Quite racist with it as well. All other foods do not matter. Only Iranian.
You can't live without. It's Iranian.
What about burgers, Shaheen? Is that Iranian?
No.
Do you eat burgers? No.
I think if we're talking
About
about
burgers, that's made up of more than one ingredient. Eve, I'm talking. Come on, one food, one ingredient you couldn't live without.
Meat.
One ingredient.
Lamb.
An ingredient I couldn't live without.
Lamb. I don't think that's going to rank highly on the most popular answers. Lamb. I think for me, Tom, it would be cheese because there's nothing quite like cheese. With chocolate, for example, you can have other sweet stuff, but
Dairy Lee, are you watching? Because you've got your next advert right here.
no, not Dairy
We're looking
Lee.
for sponsors, by the way.
rather a bit more sophisticated cheese than Dairy Lee. But I like my cheeses, and there's just no substitute for cheese. And then you can't really enjoy.
Mo, have you had an earthquake?
Huh?
Have you had an earthquake?
Yeah, his camera's got a bit.
Oh yeah. Didn't even notice.
I didn't feel that here. Did you feel that?
Yeah,
Sorry,
cheese.
go
Can't
on.
enjoy pizzas without cheese. Burgers taste better with cheese. Loaded fries, all that stuff. Cheese is good for nothing.
Salt.
You still.
Don't be boring. I've seen people in the chat box be really boring with this.
You didn't
don't
answer
salt
this
and
question, Tom.
water. Probably. I was going to say flour, which I suppose is quite boring as well. But
That's interesting. Flour.
yeah, because my favourite food is pasta.
And you told me lamb.
So I have to have pasta. Love bread.
We've got quite a few.
All
Got quite a
bread.
few Iranian brothers in the
Can't
chat.
do without bread.
I can see all the
bread and
Iranian
pasta.
guys.
You need flour, so
put in their
probably
foods.
flour.
Also, Tom, just to give you a website recommendation. You wasn't here for this one either, Shaheen, so I'm sorry you're feeling left out with this convo. But you mentioned, Shaheen, you wasn't here, but Tom gave us a recommendation for a website. Do you want to tell him what it was, Tom, very quickly? It was, do you know, cows? Yeah, do you know cows,
yeah.
Shaheen? Yeah, I can't remember what was the site
Mo
called.
didn't enjoy this at all, by
What
the
was
way.
the site called, Tom?
It's called the Hoof GP.
Hoof
There you
GP,
go.
Shaheen,
YouTube
right?
channel.
Get your head around this. Tom enjoys watching a channel on YouTube.
Oh yeah, no, I saw this.
Shaving cows' feet.
Yeah.
Trimming
I
them,
watched
one,
trimming
mate,
them,
it's
not shaving them. He hasn't got
I was
clippers.
not well, but I was watching this and I was like, what?
It made me sick. So I've got a recommendation for you, Tom. It's called My Mechanics. Yeah?
Yeah.
And it's got about 11 million subscribers.
Oh,
And it's a guy that restores things that are really old. So he'll get an 1800 screwdriver and bring it back to life and show you what it would have looked like. And you see it all happening. That will interest you, mate. Just thought I'd share that with you.
I've
Yeah? My
subscribed.
Mechanics.
I've subscribed.
Subscribe.
Tom.
There you go. Cutting edge journalism.
Tom, about I think 10 days, 10, 12, 15 days gone from the World Cup draw. Are you still not fearing facing Iran?
No, mate, we're bossing that. We're bossing it, mate.
We're bossing that, yeah?
We're bossing. Well, to be fair, as I say, I think it'll be us in the United States. I'm sorry, that's just my prediction.
No, man.
The US are a very good
Mo,
team.
you
We
were
should
not
have
here
some
last week.
forfeits for the World Cup as well. I think.
I said it's a shame Israel was not in the World Cup. Otherwise, Iran, UK, US, Israel would have been a big party, and that some juicy games coming up.
The problem is, right, we've seen like how the world works. If that was the group, when it came to the Iran game, you'd have Israel, UK, and the US all playing at the same time versus Iran. That's what happens in the world. So
Do you know what? In other sports, they have come across each other, Iran and Israel. And do you know what's happened?
they don't play, do they? The contestants.
No, Iran says we don't recognize Israel as a country, and they walk off.
Yeah.
So they might have done the same here. Anyway, I think it will be UK and Iran that will go through. We'll beat USA. We've done it before. It's just pure passion and heart that we have. We'll see us through.
So,
They know that.
your passion and heart is all you need. You
Yeah,
don't
the
need any
sanction
skill or
country
talent.
will fight back.
I remember that game. They bought flowers on the pitch. Was it 94?
Yeah. France
Flowers
98, I think.
Was it 98?
Yeah,
Exchange baklava as well.
Yeah, brilliant. 2-1 to Iran. It was
That's
1-1. It was
racism.
quite a
Yeah,
late
you
winner.
know yourself.
Brilliant game.
I think it will be the same thing. I think Iran will beat them probably 2-0 or 2-1. Anyway,
It depends if Asmoon turns up, innit?
He's just looked that up.
he's not.
I wrote about him this January. I know who
Probably
he
not.
is.
I don't think he's the best striker that
He's
Iran
the only
has
player
as a
he
guy.
knows. He's
And
just
he plays for
thought he'd drop that
Porto. You know the guy who did the overkick
Oh,
goal?
yeah.
Yeah, he's the best striker that we have. And
Interesting.
I think
Because,
he will
I
do
mean,
well.
Asmoon's just gone to Leverkusen. He's not scored yet.
Yeah, I
So-
don't rate him that highly. I don't think he's.
You have
that.
got a great
But
talent at
the
Liverpool.
other
You've got
guy
that
is
little kid
really
with
good.
the
I forgot
ponytail.
Meti Taremi. He's very good, Taremi. So keep an eye on him. Arsenal were linked with him actually last season. Anyway,
Iranian at the club.
yeah, you wish. Anyway, so Tom, where can people find you to hear your wonderful views on Arsenal?
You can find me at the Gooner Talk. You can find my written work at Football London and more video stuff on the Arsenal way. We actually did an in-studio show today with me, Kaya, and Bailey. It was really weird doing everyone was in the same room recording the pod, so it was strange. So check that out.
Kaya's half Turkish, isn't he?
Yeah, he went over there last week. He was in Turkey.
Okay. Mo?
Problem.
Yeah, people can find me crying in the North Bank and also on YouTube, Mo Hader, Twitter and Instagram, Arsenal08. Done.
Wonderful. I personally, I just want to thank everybody for giving us your time and watching. And Lev, you can.
Hold on. Before we go, Mo has got a great cause as well, yeah, that we have not been highlighting. Mo,
Yes.
could you tell the guys in the chat a little bit more about your cause, man? Because, I think you should be getting more traction.
Yeah, thanks, Lev. It's one of those ones where, in theory, it was like I thought it'd be really, really simple, but actually, it takes a lot of effort. What I tried to do about 6-7 years ago was just collectively, group of football fans, obviously primarily Arsenal fans that follow me on social media, never met each other, but I thought we can all do something quite good together. So I thought, let's try and sponsor an orphan. So everyone just chips in £3, and together you can sponsor an orphan for a year, and you just maintain that. It did really, really well, and we doing it for the last 6 or 7 years. Now we're actually up to 6 orphans. So it went up from 1 to 3 to 5, 6. So now I'm trying to fundraise, and I always do this in the month of fasting in Ramadan to raise that money. So the total that we need, that my fundraising target this year is £2,333. I know, very specific. It rounds it up to a $14,500 lifetime total. Anyway, going all right so far this year. We raised about 20% of the total. But if anyone is watching, please do look at my Twitter or my Insta, and I'll share the link on there. And all I really ask for is for 1% of the people that follow me across all platforms to donate £3. If 1% of people just donated £3 each, which is nothing, we'd have enough instantly. And I think it just really pains me. I just want to understand in my mind, why do people not just do that? Why do people scroll past the tweet? I'm only asking for £3, but in theory, it doesn't work like that. In practice, it doesn't work like that. What people actually do is loads of people ignore it, and very, very few people do 10, 20, 30, £50, which obviously I really appreciate as well. But I'd love to see I'd love to wake up tomorrow to a few hundred £3 donations, because that collective power can do something so nice. But I just think it's a really beautiful thing to do on social media, where at the start of the show we spoke about abuse. And actually, this is the other side of it. You know, instead of abusing someone, being horrible to someone, why not do this? Just spend £3 of your money to sponsor an orphan that otherwise would have to give up education and, go and work as a child.
Brilliant.
Mo, where can people find links to donate? Should they come to Twitter?
People are asking about the PayPal as well.
Yeah, no, not PayPal. It's a Just Giving link. I'll share it on my Twitter again tonight.
Is it your pinned tweet, Mike?
Yeah, it is my pinned tweet, actually. You're right, Tom. Yeah, thanks for that. So they can just see it on my profile.
People like my Iranian brother Arsenal Manic, if you're looking for a link, check Mo Twitter out and you have links there. There's a super chat as well from...
Oh, it's Issa, the guy. He's the guy that gives us cryptic messages, but it sends the money first and then sends the question later.
Issa, I don't know what am I supposed to make out of that, but if you can write your
Tom's
message,
usually good at finding his question.
Lev, you want to have the final word for this week?
Man, I just hope Arsenal prove me wrong. £200 meal is not worth the heartache. Basically, do you know what? Even if we win and I lose the predictions, I just want my team to do well. So please, guys, if you can get it going. Oh, we're on Highbury Squad tomorrow as well. So you guys watching us here,
I think you're gonna have to go on your.
Am I flying solo now?
Yeah, you are.
Well, I was told we were the brown
otherwise
ants
engaged.
What is going on? I can't go on without you, man.
No, you know what? I
can say these things, Tom. You can't, yeah.
Dear me.
No. Sophie was kind enough to invite us, but unfortunately, I have another commitment that I have to attend. So Lev will kindly take.
So it looks like I'm going on my Jack Jones tomorrow.
I'm grateful to Sophie.
Just found out live on air.
I'm grateful to Sophie for giving us opportunity. Kevin Campbell will be there as well, and I'm sure you give them my regards. And another thing I forgot to say, I actually sympathise with you as well. Last week it was your birthday, Arsenal messed up. Yep. Yesterday it was my birthday, Arsenal messed up.
Good. I'm glad now you know.
Happy belated birthday, mate.
Happy birthday to the both of you.
Yeah, thanks, Arsenal.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for watching us. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Hopefully 3 points Arsenal will get us. And please, let's be kind to each other. If we don't like something, or if your opinion is different to mine, Tom, Mo, or Lev, it doesn't mean we can be abusive about it. It would be better if we can talk about it. Let us be different to other fan bases where we can do things in peace. Much love from myself and Lev and the guys. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you guys next week.
Support Mo's cause.
Yes,
go put some money.
And we'll see you tomorrow at Highbury Squad.
Yes. Well, you.